and beware. We're all across Jamaica. We're all across the world. The Politics Plus podcast is on until 9 o'clock. Yep. Just got a message from Charmaine. Charmaine in the Bahamas. Did you find the page, Charmaine? Hello, Charmaine. Did you find the page? Politics Plus podcast. Did you find the page, Charmaine? People are still trying to find our page. You have to share the page, my friends. Oh, there she is. She found it. Oh, Charmaine. She's been worried about the page. She said, "What's happening to the neighbor?" Well, I'm here in full flight tonight. Oh, what a great show we're gonna have. Saying good evening to Jamaica Princess. Hey, Jamaica Princess, I gotta hear your voice today. Ah, Jamaica Princess. Wow. Nice. Princess, you're pretty up there now, man. Pretty up there, Princess. All right. Take care of yourself and make sure you stay warm this weekend. Drink your tea or your coffee. One Tough Tyler. Tough Tyler, you found us, huh? Nice. Tough Tyler. Good evening, gracious Peacock. Hi, how you doing? Friday. Come with me, let's go until 9 o'clock.
Come, let us go to the land of love.
All right, let's go in. Let's go in. To everybody, saying good night to everybody. Hello, Shari, D Brown, 60. Good night to you. What a Friday. Hi, how are you doing? How are you doing, everybody? Great to have you. Great to see you. How was your day today? Is it cold where you are? Always blessed. Nice to have you. Sandra Honeygan, Joyce Major joined. Always blessed. Hi. Please follow the Politics Plus 2 page. Yeah. 61 Queen. Hi. Call your name, Joyce Major. You're in Jamaica? Coming to see me? You're in Jamaica. Oh. Twinkle, twinkle, what a Friday. Oh. Can you hear me calling out your name? One Tough Tyler, Friday. Good night to you, sir. Joyce Major, you coming to see me, girl? I hope you brought something for me from the United States. Can you hear me calling out your name on this Friday? Oh, you born to Queen.
Can you hear me call?
Caroline the Dawn. You're on the show.
You know that I'm falling and I don't know what to say.
Callis TJ reposted. God chosen vessel. Good evening to you. What a love affair on Politics Plus. Oh, the Politics Plus podcast. What a love affair, eh? Bunch of Queen. Tyler, can you hear me calling your name?
Can you hear me calling? Can you hear me calling out your name?
Hey, Enriquez, good evening to you.
Calling and I don't know what to say.
Jamaica Princess, good evening. Daphne, Widex, how you doing? Gracious Peacock and Sharon Lynch, Kevin Bennett, Selburn Cox, are you there? On fire, twinkle, twinkle, God riches on me. One Queen D and Jamaica Girl.
You know that I'm falling and I don't know what to say. I'll speak little loud.
The real sugar Sandra Blue, Damian Brown. Turn around, brother. Two Lot Gone Green Love, Jake Kango. Psalms 91. Come along. Good evening. Eileen Archer and Best Powell Blueberry. Joyce Major Gatekeeper. Miss Justice Keisha. Oh, Diane, how you doing, Diane? Miss Justice, Lisa Hall, Claudette Crawford, Chromas 876. Oh, I tell you, what a fantastic group of supporters. Psalm 91. Thank you so much. What an evening, huh? Florida joins the show. Just so you know, Florida joins the Politics Plus podcast. Comes to you from Jamaica. But look who we have on screen. Florida. Hey there, Caroline. Good evening to you.
Hi, Neighbour. Good evening to you.
Hi, how you doing? Understand that the weather this weekend in Florida is going to be cold and chilly. Are you planning to ride through this weekend? And what the plan? What be cold and chilly? Are you planning to ride through this weekend? And what the plan? What are the plans you have?
Well, I intend to stay in. I have no intentions of going outside.
No? Huh?
Absolutely none.
What's the weather like there now?
It's pretty cool. It's just cool, but it's not cold.
You're expecting it to get a little colder than this?
Yes, it will get a little colder later on, but tomorrow at 10 o'clock, it's going to be 38.
38 Fahrenheit?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, but that's freezing.
Well, almost.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Why didn't you get a flight and come on home to Jamaica?
Neighbor, I'm not gonna just leave just because it's a little cold.
Okay.
How was your day, neighbor?
One of my listeners, Charmaine,
Uh-huh.
just texted me to say that she couldn't find the program for the last 2 evenings. The Politics Plus, she couldn't find us. I just sent her the name, the Politics Plus podcast. She typed it in, and there it was, and she's online.
Oh,
hello,
awesome.
Charmaine. How you doing? So night by night, we're getting better. We're growing. We're growing the other platform. We should be able to take guests on that by Sunday. And want to encourage our listeners to keep supporting that page as the backup page, and to share this page to as much people as they can. Correct?
Yes, neighbor.
So looking forward for a great show tonight. Do you have any surprises for us?
Well, no, not yet. Nothing planned. But as the night goes by, you just never know.
Fantastic. And I trust that behind the scenes you are working to keep us warm and to keep us going. Thank you so much.
Of course, neighbor. Good evening, listeners.
By the way, I got a call today from one of my very special listeners.
Uh-huh.
He called me to give me nice words of encouragement. So nice.
Yes.
So nice to hear from her.
Yes, I'm happy to hear that, neighbor.
Yeah, I wish more of them would call.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Well, neighbor, even though they don't call, please don't question their love and sincerity, and their best wishes as well.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, before you go ahead, Caroline, there is no human being that does not feel overwhelmed at times, on the journey. Can you imagine what the Prime Minister maybe feel, how he may be feeling sometimes, Caroline, with all the attacks and all the things he has to go through? You understand that sometimes he may be feeling down, eh?
I'm sure he is, neighbor, but he was built for this.
You think I was built for this too?
Definitely.
Oh my goodness.
Do you remember the story I told you about diamonds?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, always remember that.
All right. You're a diamond yourself,
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, great.
Listeners, good evening to you all. Welcome to Politics Plus podcast with Hello Neighbor, Harry and Scratchy.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you please to tap the screen and share the live. Also, please repost the live by pressing that white arrow and then that yellow circle at the bottom of the page to repost. Also, listeners, I'm asking you to follow Politics Plus 2 page, which is that page right across from Neighbor. All right. Thank you very much for joining. And Neighbor, have a great show.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.
Of course.
Let's crank this thing up and going on a Friday.
viewers, please repost the live. Remember to press that white arrow at the bottom, then that yellow circle, and please repost. Let's share the live.
28 minutes after 7 o'clock. Let's go to the notes.
Zero them lyrics a chop like the soul of sorrow. Tell them set me take it down low, 'cause this is a...
All right. Okay, so the 2025 election was a warning election, not a verdict. I want you to understand the politics, and I want you to think about it. There are elections that end an era, and there are elections that interrupt one. So there are endings and there are interruptions. There are verdict elections. And in a verdict election, the people pass final judgment. You ever hear them say that people vote out government? Those are verdicts. It's almost like the people became the judges. And they are warning elections. So we are interpreting the election as a warning election, in which they pause history mid-sentence and say, not like this. The political parties do post-mortem, election post-mortems, but they don't share it with you. And upon this program, we are taking the time to help you to understand the political dynamics post-election. I'll get to Melissa, because this is a politics program. It's Politics Plus. The 2025 general elections belongs unmistakably to the latter category, where we call it a warning election. And I want, if you're a supporter of the Jamaica Labour Party, I want you to pay attention, because the party is not going to release their review, but it can be different from this. The election did not overthrow a governing philosophy, nor did it repudiate competence, reform, or stability. Instead, it issued a subtle, unsettling message. And that message cannot be captured by seat counts alone. Here is where Mr. Golden and his team is misreading the elections themselves when he speaks of additional responsibility and boasts that his party won 2028 seats. I want you to understand that this was an election where the people sent a message, is a warning message. And so this was not a rejection of governance. It was a rejection of distance. It was not a condemnation of outcomes, but of meaning. It was not the end of trust, but the erosion of intimacy between the state and the citizens. And so to understand this election as a verdict is to misunderstand both democracy and Jamaica. To understand it as a warning is to glimpse something far more profound. The limits of technocratic excellence in a society where democracy is felt before it is measured. Here in Jamaica, democracy is felt before it is measured. It is narrated before it is analyzed, and it is lived before it is believed. I wonder if Foresight is on the live tonight, because Foresight knows this, what I'm talking about. Let me back up and show you something. Because illiteracy affects democracies. And in Jamaica, there are three things at play. Firstly, you have what is called functional illiteracy. Functional illiteracy is where the people have difficulty processing written information. That's why they don't buy paper. You ask them how much paper sell. It's not because the people too much hate the Gleaner. You know, when I was a child, you had to read it. As a matter of fact, when I got my first job at 17 years old, I had to sit down and read the Gleaner. That's how I got to know people like Ian Boyne and John Maxwell, Don Rich, Mutty Perkins, and all of these people who used to write for the Gleaner. It was not, I had to do it. So there is functional illiteracy. And then you have what is called civic illiteracy. Civic illiteracy. Civic illiteracy is where there is limited understanding of how government works, what policies do, and what are the trade-offs. For example, a hurricane blow, and people expect that the houses are to be built tomorrow. That's not how government works. That is not how government works. You cannot expect government to draw a check. You expect that the Prime Minister will come down to Westmoreland and just draw checks, give you. That's not how government works, you know. And so there is civic illiteracy. And then you have what is called critical illiteracy. And critical illiteracy is difficulty questioning narratives, distinguishing long-term benefits from short-term rewards, and not separating symbolism from substance. Jamaica is struggling with civic illiteracy and critical literacy. Okay? This is not necessarily a moral failure of the citizens, you know. It is It is structural outcomes of colonial systems. And when we speak of slavery, this is where the vestiges of slavery still lingers in the society, in the thinking, right? Because we are emerging out of a colonial system that rewards loyalty over understanding. And I'm going to and listen. There's something that is very nasty about politics, and that is politics captures ignorance and perpetuates it for power. Many politicians rides into power on the ignorance of people. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when at first we set out to deceive. And that is why it's so important that more people tune into this program here so that they can learn, man. They can learn a little bit. You understand me? We're coming back on the notes tonight. Exposing it, exposing it, exposing it. Bashan Smith, hello. Hello, neighbor. State of mind, hello. Hello, how you doing? All right, let's go back. Let's go back in. Now, philosophers like Plato speaks of the paradox that we have in democracy, the paradox of democracy. And in that regard, what Plato is doing is he's distrusting democracy, because he's arguing that if a man is not civic literate and critically literate, he should not have the same right at the ballot as is the civic literate and the critically literate. So if you are civic illiterate, in other words, you don't understand the system, you don't understand policy, you don't understand what you're voting for, that because a man is going to go to the ballot, he's going to cast a vote, and the man is voting against his own best interests because a man give him $2,000. Right? In Jamaica, a man will sell him vote. He drink a rum. And so the paradox of democracy is that Plato argued that when many lack education, they become vulnerable to rhetoric over reason. And I want you to look at the campaigns of both political parties, and you will see that the PNP was deliberate in how they campaigned. And I think Joshua John, brings this point out. It's not a not well thought out campaign that the PNP ran, It's a very well thought out campaign, and they almost won. And I'm going to show that to you too. Maybe not tonight because I may not get there. I will show it to you. Right? And so what Plato is saying is that the vulnerable, the undereducated, the civic illiterate, and the people who are critically illiterate, they value rhetoric over reason. Roman boom, weed, curry goat and rice, and music. And you go up on the stage and you dance and you get them emotional. Rhetoric. One by one, them is going to jail. Those things move people, And then he argued that the elitists, right? They have different concerns. But in the democracy, votes are equal. The same vote that the illiterate has is the same vote that the literate has. One man, one vote, same man, same vote. So whilst votes are equal, understanding is not. And this is where the paradox is created, because you have equal opportunity to vote, but you don't understand the issues. So what are you voting for? But in our democracy, voting is a right. The paradox that this creates is that a government can govern well and still be poorly understood and therefore poorly rewarded. So the problem in Jamaica is that the Andrew Holness government is poorly understood and it is poorly rewarded. I told you that we have looked at the figures, and the government, by its performance, ought to have won more than 40 seats. You can perform well and you are poorly rewarded. And this happens if the population prioritizes immediate relief over structural reform, mistrust abstract explanations like macroeconomics and fiscal discipline. For example, how many Jamaican understands the reform of the financial sector? What does that mean to the growth of the economy? And why does the economy need to grow so that their road can be fixed? That's civic illiteracy. And many Jamaicans interpret the politics through personality. They interpret the politics through identity, and they interpret the politics through historical grievances. Now, when that happens, good governance does not translate into perceived success. And this helps to explain why a government like the Jamaica Labour Party, which is competent, technocratic, has recovered the economy, are still struggling to gain broader electoral validation. Fascinating, eh? Let's continue to look at this tonight as we roll through Hello?
Our listeners, please tap and share, please. Also, please repost the live.
Fascinating stuff. 12 minutes to 8 o'clock. So, John Stuart Mill argued that good policies often produce slow, indirect, and invisible benefits. Good policies. While bad policy produce fast, visible gratification. So a government, that is where the politics, and that is why you see, if we don't wake up as a country, we now go far. Now go far, you know. Because good policy does not deliver immediate results and gratification. When Wholeness went to Mandeville and tell the people about bitter medicine, him lose the election. And many people will tell you that he should have never do that. You can't tell the people say they're going to get bitter medicine. You have to administer the bitter medicine without them not even understanding. Like how them add syrup to Panadol. You know the syrup, you know the Panadol sweet. You ever see? You know that when I and you were growing up and we get medicine bitter. You remember? You remember how the medicine used to bitter? Yes, but it is the children, them wouldn't take it, they would have spit it out because it tastes bad. Now pick me a drink Panadol, sweet syrup, same medicine, but they add little syrup to it, make it taste sweet. So it you can't tell people say they're going to get bitter medicine until think them are going to elect you. They're not going to do it. All right? Good policies produce slow, indirect, visible benefits. Bad policies produce fast, visible gratification. Like Jeep. Tell the people them about Jeep and Operation Pride. Yeah. In Jamaica, infrastructure reforms, debt reduction, institutional stability are not immediately felt. Crime reduction through systems like the courts, intelligence, prevention is slower than symbolic crackdowns. You know, in the 90s, what they did, they would set up squads. They would set up squads, symbolic, like the CMU, and they give them 10 vans and staff it with about 20 or 30 officers. Yeah. Handouts, spectacle, and populist language are instantly rewarded. So the issue is not just illiteracy. It's a mismatch between the time horizon of good governance and the time horizon of popular perception. That's why governments going into elections have to offer the people something that is catchy, that is relatable, that can get them excited, or you're going to lose. And that is why communication becomes so critical. Remember now, that you are dealing with a people that are civic illiterate. Many are functionally illiterate. Many are civic illiterate and critically illiterate. That is the reality of the majority of people that vote in Jamaica. Because remember that the civic literate ones don't vote. And the critically literate ones don't vote. A lot of people who are voting in Jamaica don't know what they're voting for. Then just go mark X. And that is why communication is so important. Because democracy is not just about doing the right thing. It's about making the right thing intelligible. It's not about only doing what is right. It is connecting what is right with the people. You know, it is argued that politics exists in the space of appearance. Politics exists in the space of appearance. What people can see, hear, and narrate together. If policy successes does not enter this space in a meaningful way, it practically does not exist. You can have the best policies, but if people cannot relate to it, it don't mean a thing to them. The government goes to Washington and signs an IMF deal. Big, big book of reforms that are to happen, of legislation that are to pass in Parliament. Sometimes there are layoffs that are recommended. Legislation that has to be discussed. You think the people of Moko business with that? You think the little lady that is on her that goes to the clinic go pick up her medication every week, business? No, but she care anything about IMF deal? You think she has anything to do with her? That's a good policy. You know, when the government, for example, cabinet meets on a Monday and the government has a press briefing, the cabinet press briefing on Wednesday morning, to communicate to who? Who are you communicating to? In a country that is civic illiterate and critically illiterate and functionally illiterate, what is Miss Dana Morris Dixon at Jamaica House keeping press conference to talk to them? Them a listen? A joke on make. Them the people don't care. They care zero about those press conferences. Those press conferences are reaching the people who don't vote. And that is what the government needs to understand. The people who are listening to those press conferences, them don't vote. And so we need to have a press conference for the people who vote.
Could you please continue to tap the screen and share the live, please? Also, remember, please, to follow Politics Plus 2 page.
All right, let's go back in here. Right, so there's a disconnect, right? It is not the policy that is weak. It is the communication that is weak. Because democracy is not just about doing the right thing. It's about making the right thing connect. Okay? It's about connecting. So there are many governments, including this one. This is how they communicate. They communicate technocratically. They tell you about numbers, they give you reports, and they do something. So, for example, the Jamaica Labour Party put out this book. Now, if I was advising the party, I wouldn't print this. And many of you there say, ho, 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 what is he talking about? I wouldn't print this in Jamaica. This probably was I wouldn't knock it so much. But this, I don't think gained the party much votes. There are many, many other ways that you could have packaged this to be a lot more effective in this society. Because first of all, you are dealing with a society that is functionally illiterate, civic illiterate, and critically illiterate. And you put a book in their hand, you put a book in them hand, for the what? The government, through its press conferences, are communicating technocratically. They're giving numbers, they are giving reports, they're speaking about their achievements, and they communicate defensively, meaning they respond to criticisms rather than shaping the narrative. One of the fundamental weaknesses of the Labour Party, you know, is that they don't shape the narrative. They, you know, when you play cricket, one of the things that you do is that you have a coin toss. So both captains go out to toss the coin. It is at the toss of the coin that determines whether you bat or bowl first. Now that's a very, very, very important decision, you know, that a captain has to make. And normally, the captain don't make that decision on the field. The captain would have consulted with the coach, the technical people, the players, and they would have had a meeting. If I win the toss, do we bat first or do we bowl first? Because you have to look at the pitch. What determines whether you bat or bowl fourth is the pitch. And if the pitch, if the time is overcast and the pitch is green, you better bowl. Because it's going to dry out later and it will be more comfortable for batting. Part of what you have to do is to set the narrative. So you set the runs and then you can defend it. So if you make 300, well, that's on the board. Is the man coming in after that now needs to figure out how he's going to make 300 runs. So technocratic communication, defensive communication, where you are responding to the opposition, like Mr. Man called press conference and then you call, no, you don't have to respond to that because you would have already set the narrative. So by the time the opposition calls its press conference, the people are already ready, informed, communicated with. And then the government communicates from above, talking at the citizens, not with them. You can't talk at citizens. You have to have a conversation with people. In an environment of civic illiteracy, this is ineffective and it is counterproductive. You cannot take the politics outside of the society's value, where the society is socially, where the society is educationally. That's where you practice the politics. All right. So then, let us get back to the whole matter of it was a warning election, not a verdict election. It was an election of what pass. As a verdict is to misunderstand both democracy and Jamaica itself. The election was warning. But you know, most governments are tempted almost irresistibly to believe that success is self-evident. You know, growth figures rises, debt ratio falls, institutions stabilize, international agencies not approvingly. When you go to Parliament and talk about Fitch and Standard and Poor, oh, listen to me. Those are just for the technocrats. Uptown. You know, history, it seems, is on their side. When you know, governments are tempted to believe that success is self-evident. The economy is growing. Standard and Poor has, you know, given us a good rating. The IMF says we are the poster child. Other countries have said how well we are doing. Well, and do you think that the people feel the same way? Democracy does not live on spreadsheets. It lives in kitchens, taxis, churches, remittance lines, police stations, in the classrooms. Democracy is lived where numbers dissolve into experience. If you're a neighborite, I want you to get that. The technocrats are watching the markets. The only market that some people know, a coronation. The technocrats are watching the markets. Jungle market, we know, a coronation market. the prices at the coronation market. I'm putting that. No, sir. Oh, boy, I tell you.
drop like the soul of sorrow. Tell us if we take it.
All right, let's go back in. You know, the technocrats tell you about the market. But as I said to you before the break, that the only market some of us know is the curry market. A curry market we know about. We don't know about the financial market. Okay? Democracy don't live on spreadsheets, neighbor rights. You are here to learn. Yes? So that you can make informed decisions. Democracy don't live on spreadsheet. Democracy lives in people's kitchens. Democracy lives in taxes. Democracies live in the JUTC bus. The price of chicken back and salt fish. Like my friend says, salt fish. Yes? Democracy lives in the remittance lines, Western Union and MoneyGram. Democracies live among the people. If you want to know how this country is doing, go into the towns. I remember sending an message to the Labour Party to tell in one of, I said, tell the leader, go into the towns, go to the markets. That's where the democracy is. Not on the stock market, in the barber shops, at the hair salons, at the gas station, go to the pumps. Yes, go to the supermarket. Stand up and look at the cashiers as they cash out the goods for the people. How much things they put back. That's where the democracy is. No matter what you talk about economic growth and all of that, you miss the people. Because sometimes those things do not align with the people's reality. And so John Stuart Mills argued that, as a matter of fact, he warned that good policy often produces benefits that are diffuse, delayed, and invincible, while bad policy produces pleasure that are immediate, concentrated, and, you remember I speak about the hedonistic tendencies? And so elections are immediate. There are moments of reckoning compressed into a single day. And in an election, you're asking citizens to translate years of lived complexity into an X. You're asking your people to translate years of complexity into a mark on a piece of paper. That is why the election campaign is so critical, so vital. It's not what happens on election day. It is the campaign that must capture the 5 years of performance. That 2 or 3 weeks. And it cannot be captured in a book. It cannot be captured in a book. Well, that was one layer of the campaign. Because when the benefits of governance cannot be clearly named, when they remain abstract, indirect or unevenly felt gratitude withers, even as stability endures. There is no question that Jamaica is stable. There is no question that Jamaica is doing well. There is no question that Jamaica is on the right path. What I am trying to explain to you is why it was not translated into votes. That is a communication challenge. Not understanding civic illiteracy, functional illiteracy, and critical thinking, critical illiteracy. And let me tell you this. If the party does not get this right, labor rights, don't get excited. Your fourth term is going to be difficult. If the party does not get the communications right, democracy is not lived in the market, the stock market. It's lived in coronation market. It's the lived experience of people. That's what the campaign is to compress over 3 weeks so that the people with one mark makes that decision. You know, I am 815. You know, Plato, he had a distrust for democracy, you know, and it is aligned with my own feelings. If I ever got into government, I would take some bills to parliament that would not be popular, because I do not think that democracy thrives where there is high illiteracy. As a matter of fact, I don't think you can have a functioning democracy when your people are unable to make choices, informed choices of government. It is a sad, let me tell you this, and here is where I will get a little political. Eddie Siaga did nothing wrong to have lost in 1989. Philip George Siaga, rest on, brother, up at Hero Circle. Nothing. When you look at Mr. Siaga's record in government, and many people alive today are able to assess the last decade. I know about the period between 1980 and 1989. I was a student. And I can tell you this. And the same thing is happening, you know, because Siaga had to do a couple of things. One, the recovery from the devastation of the 70s. The PNP has had 2 periods of government in Jamaica that have really been very bad. The period of the 70s and the period of the 90s. The period where Portia was prime minister under Peter Phillips, the PNP was locked into an IMF agreement. They had to follow the script. As a matter of fact, that 4-year period of Portia was not even the government. I don't even know if the government of Jamaica was in charge of the country. We were basically following a script. You know, there was very little that could have happened. Okay, so the period of the 70s and the period of the 90s, both periods there are similarities there. And Siaga lost in 19, brutal loss. And I've said this privately, and I'm going to say it here tonight publicly. That was the worst mistake Jamaica ever made. That loss of the Jamaica Labour Party in 1989 is the worst mistake that Jamaica ever made in its history. That election lost of the Jamaica Labour Party in 1989 has set us back for at least 30 years. Because what it ushered in was 18 and a half years of the worst government that we have ever had. Politics is important. It is important that the people understands what they are voting for, and the party has a responsibility to do it through its communication, how it links its policies to the lived experience of the people. Politics, democracy is not lived on the stock market. It is lived in Coronation Market, and Mandeville Market, and Linstead Market, and Maypen Market, and the arcades, the classrooms, the taxis, the barber shops, the shops on the corner. And so Plato never really trust democracy because he despised the people. And he didn't trust it because not because he despised the people. It's not because he hated the people, but because he feared the consequences of rule without understanding. What the hell caused, I can do a note on why Jamaicans, having rejected the PNP in 1980, overwhelmingly re-elected them in 1989. Manly's charisma. Manly's charisma. That is what Plato was against. The consequences of rule without understanding. How you are going to send a man into the ballot box to mark X and he don't understand. He don't understand where he might vote for. He don't understand where he might vote for. One man just give him 2,000 and say, go vote for me. Plato was worried that rhetoric would outrun reason. Rhetoric would outrun reason. If you are a brilliant speaker, I mean, I have nothing against Mama P, Portia Lucretia Simpson Miller. But Mrs. Simpson Miller was largely without substance, you know. Mrs. Simpson Miller was a nice lady. I mean, I don't wanna criticize her too much because you know she's not well. But Mrs. Simpson Miller was without reason. Mrs. Simpson Miller was not a you know, but the people loved her. On what grounds? On what grounds you elect Mrs. Simpson Miller Prime Minister? What were the policies that Mrs. Simpson Miller expostulate to the Jamaican people? Where was her mind on the economy, on crime, on social welfare? Where was it? You ever see Miss Simpson Miller put a paper before Parliament? Come on. It was a euphoric. That's not how democracies are to operate. I mean, you had Bruce Golding. Yeah, come on. And so Plato was worried that rhetoric would overrun reason. Look at a man like Mr. Crawford, Damien. You hear Mr. Damien Crawford putting forward any debatable policy? No. Tell me one policy out of the PNP's manifesto that anybody remember. Because they understand the people. One by one, they're going to jail. That's all I remember. That appearance would eclipse substance, spectacle. And that citizens would be asked to choose without being adequately prepared to judge. You can't ask the citizens to prepare without adequately preparing them to make the decision. And I am telling the Jamaica Labour Party that they need to do more to prepare the people to make the next decision. When the people go back to the polls, they must be prepared to mark that X. And if they don't do it, I'm going to be very, very critical of them. Very critical. Because they are falling down on this. This technocratic press conference that they are having needs to stop. Well, you can have your technocratic press conference where you speak down to the people and you don't engage them. In your nice suits. You can have that. But you are speaking to the people who don't even vote. We need a press conference for the people who vote. One that adopts their language and tell them what happened. You know, say there is a program in Jamaica that is called the Solidarity Program. Now, what solidarity mean? I want someone who is functionally illiterate, civic illiterate, and critically illiterate to tell me what solidarity means. What does it mean? Government has a program called Solidarity Program. What the dickens solidarity mean? What do you mean? The people know that they are to get $20,000, but you think they can't even call the word. They can't even call the word. What solidarity means? That's not how you communicate with people. You have to find a different word. For that, you may be able to call it solidarity technocratically. That's what the ministry calls it. But when it reaches a mock-up, it can't call solidarity. And that is why Jesus did parables. And if you understand that Jesus was preaching at a time when there was not much educated. But these were mere fishermen. And even when he taught them even when he used stories, they still never understand. You can't be talking to people who have limited understanding and telling them about solidarity program. That is why programs like the NIDS failed, or well, not failed yet, but that is why they had to put. That is exactly why disinformation thrives in Jamaica. It couldn't happen in Barbados, you know. No, Barbados is having an election now, and I want you to follow it, because Barbados, I think the literacy rate in Barbados is 98%. The last time I checked, only 17% of Jamaicans have a tertiary education. 17%. You know, people may say that you know, but I think it is important to understand it, because it is understanding that is going to help us to do better with communicating. I'm not trying to tear down your government. I'm trying to get you to understand that.
All right, so where do we go from here, Andre, as a country in terms of economic development?
Fundamentally, Jamaica, you need economic stability to have economic growth, and you need economic growth in order to have economic development. We've not been able to have a sustained long-term economic growth because of lack of productivity. And what is productivity? Is output per person. Because when you boil up the economy, it's just...
Harry said Barbados is 99.7%. So I I was a little bit off. 99.7%. Check Jamaica for me, Harry. Check it for me.
Two things, right? Goods and services, right? And what my book has shown is that we've not been able to be as productive as we ought to be because of two main factors. Human capital deficiency, which is the level of education that our population has currently. 83% of the population has no tertiary level education. 83%. So only 17% has tertiary level education. When you boil it down to other qualifications, 60% has no form of qualifications whatsoever. And 65% have no skill certification. So the first thing we have to do is to get that right.
Well, those are chilling figures. But them vote. They all vote. You understand me? And that needs a program for itself. Okay? So history kind of proved Plato wrong a little bit, because democracy has survived. And for 3 consecutive elections, the Jamaican people have retained the Jamaica Labour Party. That is good and that is not so good. In some respect, that if time allows me, I'll show it to you. Because Plato is also proved right on settling in another way. Because democracy demands civic parties do not invest in it sufficiently. You have to cultivate civic understanding. No 12-year-old who do PEP should be leaving primary school in Jamaica and don't understand a little bit about how democracy works. What does the Senate do? Why is it called the upper house and not the lower house? What are the arms of government? There are many Jamaicans who don't even know the names of their cabinet ministers. Who you ask them, who is the Minister of Health? They don't know. Who is the Minister of Labor and Social Security? They don't know. Who is the Minister of Finance? They don't know. What is the role of the DPP? Yes? That is something that you should know from your leave of primary school. That should be in your curriculum. You can't go through primary school and you go through high school and you don't know the arms of government. What is the legislature? What is the executive? What's the difference between the cabinet and the members of parliament? How are laws passed in the parliament? What's the role of the speaker? What does the leader of government business do and the leader of opposition business? What them do? What are senators? How are senators appointed? This is civic. And that is why we run into these problems, because now we have a hurricane and the people want relief, but they never want to sign up for the needs. So what government will do? Transfer money to what account? They don't have a bank account. So how the government going to help them? Can cash go give them? Or should the government just go down to Westmoreland with a checkbook and just start write check, give them? Because the people don't understand the processes of government. They don't understand how it works. You hear people now talking about how much billions government get. They don't even understand that when governments get aid, it's not money they get. And when you have an opposition that is pressing for power, they will exploit these things, you know. It is for the government to understand that it must engage the people at a level that brings them into the process, so that when the voting time comes around, the Prime Minister don't have to be campaigning at 2 o'clock. The reason why the Prime Minister had to be campaigning at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock is because he knew that there was something happening that he couldn't take no chance. And we will talk about that at another time. Illiteracy in this context is not merely the ability to read words. It is the inability to read systems. It is the difficulty of tracing cause and effect across time, of understanding why restraint today enables dignity tomorrow, of seeing policy as the process rather than the event. I see the government trying to explain its budget process. The budget that the government is going to read in March, all the people are listening for is whether them are going to get increased tax or them are going to get tax break. What in a hit for them? The whole budget, comes down to a few sentences. How much tax, how much more tax we are going to pay, or how much more money we are going to get. That's all people are interested in. Well, as far as our budget process is concerned, that's it. It's civic illiteracy. I mean, Harry comes here every night and scratchy, and we go through it. But I guarantee you that if we brought on one of these popular TikTokers, the numbers move from where it is now to over 1,000. Because people are not interested in substantive and substantial stuff. Hedonistic pleasure. It is pleasure that drives a lot of people, and it drives them to the polls. That is why I was shocked when I heard Labour Rights singing the PNP song and telling me about them capturing the spoils. Clearly, the PNP song gained them votes. And I will show you that later on. To the point where the Labour Rights start singing it after the election. They don't even understand themselves. This form of civic illiteracy is not a moral failure, though. It is a structural inheritance. Because now you have to use history to explain that. And this is where the colonial system of education has not completely been eradicated from us. Because the system of politics that exists is one that rewards loyalty over literacy. They don't have to know. There was a time in Jamaica when I never believed that it was in the interest of some to keep people illiterate. I could not understand that. And up to today, I am failing to accept that people could really have no interest in educating their people. But here is the danger. Literacy can take you out of power. You can lose your seat, if you open people's eyes too much. But if they can keep you illiterate, then they can control how you vote, because they tell you go and mark the X beside this symbol. And that you do without questioning anything. Because all you do is pick up a little envelope. And when you look in a little envelope, you see $3,000, and you think, say, somehow, the best thing the man ever do you can give you $3,000. As a matter of fact, ramp it up to 5. And when you, did you know that if you are giving someone $5,000 and you give them one $5,000 bill, you know, look as enough as if you change it out enough 5 $1,000. If you give them 5 $1,000, they feel better, you know, because of the county. One $5,000 is one money. But 5 $1,000 bill is 5 money. So it look nothing. Same money, but it look nothing. So you just want to drop. By the way, Bashon, don't do that to your girlfriend. If you're giving her 10,000, don't do that. Yeah, man, if you're giving somebody $20,000 and you give them $4,000 or $5,000 bill, it don't look enough, you know. But if you ever change it out in a $21,000 bill and give them one Kyle, they say, well, they have enough money. They have enough money. That's what it is. It's just you think people easy?
Our listeners, could you please tap and share the screen? Share the live, please. Thank you.
It's the same thing with dumplings. You know, if you make dumpling, now 1 pound one pound of flour can make 4 dumpling, you know, 4 big dumpling. But no man, make 10. So the man get same 1 pound of flour that you use make 10 dumpling can be used to make 4 dumpling. The man get 4 dumpling. I say, oh, me only get 4 dumpling, but give him 10. Take the same 1 pound of flour and make 10 dumpling. Give him and say, oh, you happy. Same thing with a chicken breast. Cut the breast in a 4. Get 4 pieces of meat rather than 1. Happy? All right. Thank you. So in such an environment, good governance does not automatically translate into democratic reward. It must be interpreted, narrated, and emotionally anchored. Where that work is absent or insufficient, misunderstanding rushes in to fill the void. All right? So you can't go talking about how well the government has performed. You have to interpret the performance, narrate it, and emotionally anchor it into the people's reality. Democracy is not on the stock market. That's where the technocrats love to talk about, you know, Fitch and Moody and the central bank. Democracy is a coronation market. Coronation market. I see my moderator giving me the wrap-up signal, and so I will I will have to pick this up back tomorrow. Am I on tomorrow? I don't know. I have to check it out. Okay, so Max Weber finally, he taught that authority rests not on performance alone, but on legitimacy. The belief that power is exercised rightfully and meaningfully. Technocratic success can sustain the state, but legitimacy sustain the consent. And the 2025 election revealed a legitimacy tremor, not a collapse, because winning 35 seats indicates that the credibility remained intact, that the electorate did not abandon the government wholesale, but the loss of 14 seats signals a problem. Because if you are going to be very analytical and practical, the opposition did not lose any. The loss of 14 seats signaled a challenge. It suggests that there was some alienation. Communities where people no longer felt addressed, included, and understood. And this is the danger of the democracy, when authority is respected but no longer felt as one's own. So the citizens may acknowledge competence and they still withdraw affection. Like if you have a woman and you are providing for her and you are supporting her and you're meeting all her needs, but you're not, can run into problems. They may accept outcomes and still resent the process. They may recognize success and still feel unseen. Elections are where these contradictions surface, often clumsily, sometimes unfairly, but always honestly. Let's turn to Harry and see how we can break this down a little more for the listeners. We hope that Scratchy will be able to come back. Moderator. Thank you. I'm going to pick this up back because Harry, are you there? Ready?
I'm here, Neighbour.
Thank you. Harry, the political postmortem is on, and we are looking at the whole matter of illiteracy. Now, I'm hearing some noise in the background there. Okay. Thank you for that. Civic literacy, Harry. To what extent do you think that we must return the society to understand how governments work, what policies do, and what illiteracy is affecting political outcomes?
Well, Neighbour, to be honest, it affects it in a great deal, specifically in the communicative way and the aspect of persons translating it for meaning to themselves. Because, of course, in terms of civic literacy, it's the essential knowledge, right? Skills and understanding of a government to participate really in terms of a democratic process, right? And that in itself is one which impacts the very people of a nation or of a country. And if the people themselves don't understand how the structural setup of a government works, then they themselves don't know at best what to demand, where to post their stress and distress, and also where to actually be directing their concerns. Now, the other part of that is also not having effective engagement when it comes on to, the likes of on a local scale, state or federal.
You have to come back up, Harry, and you're gone.
Hold on, I'm not sure if you hear me as well. Hearing me now?
All right, let's take that. Come in again.
Hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, so I was sharing that in terms of the civic literacy itself, the people of a nation being governed need to understand this essential knowledge and the skills of any government, which is in governance, right? And as such, they will be able to better participate in that said governance in terms of, understanding the structure, what arm of government does what, and as such, you're able to point your concerns, also whether that is on a local level, a state level, and I mean in some other countries it may be federal, right? And as such, Neighbour, it ensures that there's effectiveness and efficiency by both sides in terms of people voicing their concerns and understanding what is being done, and also the whole engagement of both government and the people of the nation.
Okay, now, in terms of how we move forward, Harry, we are not only struggling with civic illiteracy, we are also struggling with critical illiteracy, where there's a difficulty questioning narratives, distinguishing long-term benefits from short-term rewards, or separating symbolism from substance. Look, for example, at the Hurricane Melissa recovery, and look at how much people are expecting the government almost the next day to draw them a check to put on back their roofs. That is a lack of critical literacy on how government works. Harry?
It is, Neighbour. It is at a high level, and to go one further, Mr. Pernell Charles Jr. spoke of it as well, where he saw a lot of persons misunderstanding the whole aspect of that. I think it was $35,000 they were getting in two parts. They
Yes.
thought that was the overall money for the recovery. And as much as possible, he and his team had to be trying to communicate that to the very people. And that's a narrative we've seen even persons on social media running with, who may be party affiliates or otherwise.
Yeah. Let me hold on there for me, Harry. Let me jump over to Mr. Man from the chopping block. Hello there, Chops. How you doing? From the chopping block, Chopper, Media, Chops.
Greetings, Neighbour. How you doing?
Oh, it's the chopping block, man. What's on the chopping block tonight?
Not a whole lot, man. Just here,
Yeah.
listening to your monologue earlier,
Yes.
and I found it very interesting because
Well, we are only 20% in. Can you ask the party if they would want the review? We have done a review, a post-mortem of the election, 35 seats. We're prepared to sell it to them. Yes.
I don't know about that selling part of it because they're not
No,
very good vendors. I know what you mean. I know what you
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
But I found it interesting because you spoke of Plato and his philosophy. And I've read him extensively too, and found him to be a little bit controversial, to say the least.
Yes.
Because if you read him deep enough, you'll recognize that you'll be asking yourself the question. And greetings to you, Harry. How you do? And Caroline. Blessings to you, my friends.
Good evening, Chops.
Jobs.
You'd find it a little bit worrisome to decipher whether or not he was actually against democracy in the true sense.
Yes.
But if you read his first few paragraphs, it would be easy to conclude that he's against it. But
Yes.
when he painted the picture of a perfect world, well, the city that he presented in his writing
Yes.
had democracy written all over it too.
Yes.
Yeah. But I agree with him though, and I agree with your position.
But hold on, Chop. Every person in Jamaica have one mark to make. One X
Yes.
that they make.
Yes.
Your X is counted as equal as my X. But what Plato is saying is that understanding is not the same.
It's not.
So you are going to the poll to mark one X that could affect my life, and you don't understand what you're doing?
Well, Jamaica is a poster child for Plato's philosophy. It is a poster child. When you Google Plato's writing, a map of Jamaica and its people, the quota farm, should just appear because it's the exact scenario that exists in Jamaica.
Yes.
And that is why you would have persons like yourself and I and others who are clamoring every day for communications. It's not really communication that we're asking for, you know. It's not communication, because the truth is, neighbor, Harry, myself, Caroline, and you, and others who are in the chat, a significant amount of persons in the chat, would not need any great communicator to explain to us where we are today. It doesn't take any high-level communication to explain what took place between 1989 and 2007 with the Jamaican economy. It doesn't take it's not splitting the atom to understand what happened. But again, it goes back to what you're asking about just now, which is to increase or improve the level of literacy in Jamaica.
Yeah, and not only literacy, not only literacy, Chops, but political literacy, how government works,
political education,
government programs, Chops, because we can be very technocratic, you know, and governments can be very technocratic and revel in their own success, but at the same time,
our government,
the people don't understand it, you know. In other words, a government can govern well, and yet it is poorly understood and therefore poorly rewarded. And my argument is that I believe the government was poorly rewarded on September 3 based on how it governed. And that is a problem that needs to be studied.
And again, neighbor, persons like yourself and I and others who would have latched on to the election itself, examine the results, look at it, and can be very critical about it. Because the truth is, I agree with you. And I said it on your program before, that the quality of work that the government put in for the last 10 years or so, there should not be any campaigning in Jamaica.
Well, the campaign is for affirmation. The campaigning should be for affirmation.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Holness, Dr. Holness is out there 2 o'clock in the morning.
And would you agree that the party had to mount a very strong defense of its policies?
Yes,
to retain government.
And it should not have been that way, given the level of performance and given the comparison with the opposition. It should not have been that way. And the reason we had that level of the level of campaign that we saw is simply because the Jamaican people cannot be trusted to make an informed decision. Is it that they're not informed? The information is there. It goes back to what you just said a while ago, which is having the knowledge, the political knowledge and understanding.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, break down this with me, Chops. I am arguing that communication, not policy, is the weak link. So the policy is strong. It is delivering the result. But the communication is a weak link. Now, here are the key arguments. Democracy, it is said, is not just doing the right thing. It's about the right thing intelligible. You know, the argument is that politics exists in the space of appearances, what people can see, hear, and narrate together. If policy success does not enter this space in a meaningful way, it practically does not exist. The challenge, Chops, is how is the state to cause its policy to be practicably applying it to the people on the ground so that they know that this is as a result of the government. For example, the $20,000 what they call it, solidarity grant.
Yes.
Why is it called solidarity grant on the ground? Couldn't we find a better way to say what this is about?
You know, when people, when initiatives are created by government, Neighbour, there's a lot of things that goes into how it is presented to the people. One is acronyms are created sometimes to stimulate a certain level of interest and not speaking, not echoing what the government is saying, but just to say that perhaps using solidarity would have galvanized support for persons who existed back in the 1980s when you had a similar program created and implemented by Eddie Siaga, which was called the Solidarity Program. So again, these things are implemented not just simply for what it means today, but sometimes to connect with what it meant then. And I'm almost certain, as a matter of fact, when it was launched, the Prime Minister spoke about the synergy between what was implemented under Eddie Siaga, the Solidarity Program, and what it meant for today.
Uh-huh. All right. So the technocratic way that governments tend to create. Isn't this why, Chops, the argument has been for there to be a dual communication program, one done by government, which communicates technocratically, and one by the political party that communicates what practically.
Yeah, there has to be, Neighbour, and that's the difficulty that the Jamaica Labour Party faced over the years, is that they have been very tardy in how they approach the communication, and sometimes in a lot of cases it would be bundled, because if you notice and if you go back into history, the Jamaica Labour Party has never really taken communication as serious as it ought to. In most cases, the ministry that communications fall under, which is the Ministry of Information, is usually tied to some other ministry. I cannot think of any administration formed by the Jamaica Labour Party in recent times that the Information Ministry was ever a standalone ministry with its own budget, own minister, and could chart its own course. We have not seen that. And that says a lot to me, because it means that we have not really placed a lot of emphasis on communication. Yeah? So there is a problem there, Neighbour. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There is a problem as it relates to how we communicate. And I agree with you. We struggle to separate political communication from government communication. There is an absolute, not just a, there's no gray area there. It is right from left. It is two total different type of communication.
So when Dana Morris Dixon stands up on a Wednesday and she runs the government post-cap press briefing,
yes,
Chops, that is for news media.
Absolutely.
That's nationwide. That's not communicating to those people in Coronation Market. That message from the press conference must be taken by the party, placed into a story, a narrative, and sent to TikTok. Where the
And then
people
you
are.
have,
That's
and
what
then
this-
you have an Abka Fitzhenley, a Marlon Morgan, and those two individuals who are also a part of the communications task force. They are now senators and cannot speak for the party, if you understand what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, they have to appear technocratic, so
Exactly.
They have to appear
So they are-
governmental. You have to retain the image of the government. That's
you.
Why they can't even come out on
while
TikTok.
they are,
talk
and
patois.
while, and I'm not picking on those two gentlemen because I know them, and I know that they are quite eloquent speakers. They are great communicators, excellent communicators. But the minute they were assigned to the Senate, a void has been created and needed to be filled immediately. If you can recall, Neighbour, prior to Marlon Morgan being appointed to the ministry or being appointed a senator, you can recall how aggressive he was.
Yes.
In rebutting misinformation. There could not be a single word spoken by the PNP that would not have been challenged by Marlon Morgan.
Yes.
He cannot do that now for various reasons. And we just have to face reality. It is not to say the gentleman is not good. I think he's one of the best we have produced.
Yes,
the same
but
thing for Abka.
then there are whispers on the ground, Chops, among supporters that this is so absent now that there's beginning to be a concern that if the party does not correct this, and my moderator did not give me sufficient time to explain how time come. You see that theme that the Jamaica Labour Party chose Jamaica.
Yes.
It may have been the thing that did it for them, sir. I'm going to tell you the truth. That Choose Jamaica slogan was a master stroke. As was time come. You see? And the argument is that if the party does not correct this, start to correcting it, that as good as they are, they probably will struggle going forward. What do you think?
I agree with the Neighbour. And one of the things I am holding, I have not been very vocal on this subject.
Sorry, Chops, hold your thought. You are not being critical. You are being constructive in your arguments. This is not a criticism.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why I don't want it to even come across as being a criticism of such. Because the truth is, what you are saying here, Neighbour, and I'm supporting your argument 100%, is something that has been discussed at various levels, but has not been made public. No, I have a document that I'm putting together now to send off to the powers that be. And in that document, I will be very, very clear where my mind is as it relates to how the party communicate. Because as it stands now, and let me tell you something, the minister with responsibility for information could not have been a better person than her. I don't know if we can find anybody in the party better than her. Absolute gorgeous.
To speak for the government, sir. She represents the government well.
And the truth is, she could actually speak for the party.
What I tell you something, she's a beautiful lady to look at.
Well, not only that, she commands the room.
Yeah.
She's
That too.
very diligent
That
in
too,
her
sir.
presentation.
That she is
She's
easy on the
excellent
eyes.
at what she does.
Easy on the eyes, sir.
And not only that, neighbor, also, if you were to, and I understand you, if you were to put her, let's say she was not the minister of information, but she was now purely a party person.
Yes.
I think she could represent the political arm very well too. But
yes.
the point I am making is that the two level of communications are different, and it requires
Absolutely.
it requires two different vehicles. Let me tell you something, babe. I'll give you this analogy. In Afghanistan, back in 2004, a C-130 aircraft took off from Guantanamo Bay in Cuba.
Yes.
And it brought about 168 American troops. And they dropped them off over in Afghanistan. And I remember I was talking to a brigadier general. His name eludes me now. He was in charge of the Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq. He went on from Guantanamo Bay to there. And I remember he said to me that there has to be a difference in approach in certain conflict, because the same plane that carries the bomb should not be the same plane that carries the food. And I asked him to expand on that for me. He said, picture us dropping off pamphlets over Fallujah, for argument's sake. And the pamphlets were to explain to people that they needed to gather in a particular spot to receive aid and to get help. And then the same plane is the one that dropped the bomb yesterday. Would those people run out to get the pamphlets from the plane? No, they're going to be scared. They're going to run away.
Fantastic.
So in other words, I'm bringing that back to home now. The same voice that brings the information from government cannot be the same voice that brings the political argument. There are two separate vehicles and must be treated as such.
Yes, but then I know that you know this, Chops, that the party sometimes uses G2K and Young Jamaica to put out statements.
Yeah, but those are just, neighbor, I fought against that, you know. I had to stand up in meetings and say, look, folks,
but I sense that
do
it
me
is
a
still
favor.
happening.
Let me tell you, I had to beg, and I'm not mincing word here. I had to beg them in several meetings that, look, when you send out a press release, a digital press release, only a few people in Jamaica read it past the first paragraph or the first sentence. Yeah? You need to convert that press release into video and audio. That simply means you cover all your bases. I had to stand up and beg for that to happen. And I still think at this stage, it still has not been happening. I think we're still at the stage where we believe that putting out a press release is fine. One of the most effective things that the JLP did leading up to the elections was when we started to have those press conferences at Belmont Road, when the communicators sat around a table and dealt with the issues. It was extremely effective.
Very, and they did it weekly. Yeah.
Yes, and not just weekly. They did it when the needs arise as well. Because even if they're on a weekly schedule and something pops up, they're gonna call a press conference and they're gonna get it out there. That was aggressive and effective communicating. We're not getting that today. We're not getting that today.
Okay. Now let me move you on a little bit. We press the vacuum was a communication vacuum filled by frustration, chops. A narrative surrendered to opposition, rumor, and an educational failure more than a policy failure. So it is not that the government failed, but the government failed to communicate. That, chops, must be addressed if the party intends to strengthen its position, because wouldn't you not agree that the party's strength now is weaker than it was when it had 49?
Yeah, absolutely. The
party, I'm talking, not the government, the party.
Yeah, the party, and you know, it should be viewed in on two sides, because yes, if you look at it, the government should be weaker, not necessarily the party. But in fact, if you ask me, I would want to say that the party should be stronger, because having more caretakers would then give the party stronger representation out there. In other words,
yes, sir. But when you look in the parliament on a Tuesday, I think the government would have to mobilize if there is a vote to win that vote. the opposition outnumbers the government, and for good reason, because government ministers are all over the place. But right now the government don't have the numbers in. They would have to carry people from overseas, make sure that all their ministers are in parliament if there is a critical vote.
Yes, they would definitely have to do that. But the reason I'm making that comparison just now, neighbor, is because if you have 28 opposition, 28 non-members of parliament, caretakers, constituency caretakers,
that should strengthen the party.
That strengthens the party. Because those persons should be doing the political work. Those persons should be communicating.
Yes.
So part of the breakdown that occurs, you know, is not just simply at the party hierarchy level. It comes down to the ground. I remember leading up to the general election, the party had named communicators, and they had a slew of communicators. They had all the deputy general secretaries were communicators. They were assigned to communicate. Yeah. So it means that every area council would have, and then you have, I don't want to give you the entire breakdown because that's sort of our private thing. But as it relates to the mechanism for communication within the JLP, there's a solid mechanism in place. The problem, neighbor, it's not being activated. There is a very effective mechanism in place for effective communication within the party. It is there. It just has not been activated. I'm telling you, it's there. It's there. It's there. Yeah. The setup is there. It needs somebody to mobilize. It needs somebody to get that activated and start to move it forward. But I am telling you, neighbor, that the mechanism for an effective communication within the JLP exists. It is there. I can attest to it. It is there.
Yeah. Well, sir, they have to move from press secretariats to community translators, from announcement to conversations, from reacting to shaping. The government should set the narrative for discussions in Jamaica, and stop allowing the PNP to set those narratives. A government that is always explaining, you know, looks guilty, you know.
Absolutely, you're always on the back foot. Yeah.
When you always have to be explaining, and so chops. I think there is a little bit of unease on many fronts that such is the power of this administration's achievements, that it really should be sitting comfortably in parliament now rather than looking over its shoulders. What's happening to one of your members? I see him in Parliament, almost getting applause from the opposition. Maybe you don't want to comment on that.
No, I haven't seen it, Neighbour. If you bring me up to speed, I might have missed that one.
Yeah. Well, one of your member on Tuesday had the opposition cheering for him when he supported them in terms of questions submitted to the speaker. Just looked a little way. Many people were,
I missed that one, Neighbour. I to be brutally honest with you, I missed that one.
go and search for it. What else is on your mind? What else is on your mind?
No, the whole communication is something, and the when you were speaking earlier about the bringing back the civics.
Civic, yes.
And I wanted to drill down on when was it removed from the curriculum in Jamaica. That was something I wanted to explore with you, and we remove these things to our own detriment, because I think it contributes significantly to persons not understanding how government work. I for one have always been at pains to explain to people, even on social media, where there is such a void of knowledge as it relates to how government actually work, because people believe, Neighbour, that, for example, and you cited it earlier, a hurricane just hit Jamaica.
Yes.
And I listened to Triple X and some other guys a couple of days ago having the discussion.
Yes. Feeding the ignorance.
And I was just disappointed, because I'm saying to myself, look at this though. We are here talking about what government should have done and the time in which they should have done it. And even when I go at pains to explain to them that the things that you're asking government to do within 24 hours, it's impossible. It could not happen even if you were in America. It couldn't happen. Well, they spoke about persons in certain parishes that were cut off and the government couldn't get to them, and it's the people who have gotten to them and not government. I said, but how did you expect? What people must understand, Neighbour, and I don't think, and again, it goes back to education, because what people deem government is to see a member of parliament or to see the prime minister, deputy prime minister out there in the field, in the community. Anything other than that is not government. So when they see the military out there, they say, no, it's not government, it's the army.
Even the police. I heard the prime minister with that how you think the police got there. So for government, it means the cabinet minister or the members of parliament.
Yes. So when I explain to persons that when I said to them the other day when I was making the point, that even before the hurricane hit Jamaica, government had activated shelters throughout the country, and especially in the parishes that were slated to be hit. All the parishes had all the shelters activated. Them said, no, Gossa, is afterwards. I said, but you're not following what's happening in the country. I said, ODPEM, the Office of Disaster and Prepared and Disaster Office of Disaster Preparedness Management, whatever that acronym is.
An emergency management.
An emergency management. Those persons would have been activated a day before, or 2 days before, 3 days before the hurricane. The gentleman told me nothing, Augusta. I said, so when ADPEM sent people out in the field to distribute stuff, they said that's not the government. So when you have that level of discussion now, Neighbour,
very good.
How far do I go?
God. Yeah, it's very disheartening, Chops.
It's hard.
It's very disheartening, man. And I guess that's why you get yourself in problems sometimes, because you can't hear it and not try to go.
It's hard sometimes.
It's hard. Yes. Yes, it is. The other thing, Chops, is that I've looked at Wholeness playing a triple role. One is that he has to be repairing the breach while keeping the ship going and fighting disinformation. That is almost a job that requires very strong perseverance, Chop. Jamaica's story really needs to be analyzed and told, When is the chopping block coming back? No, seriously. See, there has to be greater analyzing of the issues that we have. A lot of what we have up here on social media, Chops, a waste of time now. Tell you the truth. People are not analyzing the issues sufficiently for people to understand. Here you have a man that not only has to be repairing the ship as it floats, because he has to keep it floating,
Yes.
So he has to be doing the repair job while pressing it forward, and whilst he's pressing it forward, he has to be looking out for the pirates that are always attacking the vessel.
Always.
The vessel Jamaica. But he has managed to keep it floating, Chops. Isn't that heroic, man?
It is. And again, I sometimes said to myself, I don't know if I have it within me to do what Dr. Wholeness has been able to do, which is
and not to break down. Yeah.
Yes, because if I am just out in this space here, and when I scroll a couple days ago, and I stop for a few minutes and I listen to those guys on that TikTok page having a discussion about how government has failed and how poorly they have reacted to this hurricane. And I said to myself, what am I seeing the same country that these guys are seeing? And I joined the conversation and I asked the questions. I said, well, guys, have you listened to the United Nations mission to the Caribbean and her pronouncement? Did you hear when she said, based on her experience, looking at disasters in many countries, in many regions, and she gave 100% marks to Jamaica for their reaction and the way they reacted to the hurricane. And when she said specifically that the Ministry of Works had hundreds of contractors engaged prior to the hurricane. And when I said to the gentleman that Robert Morgan had contractors on the ground within hours after the hurricane, clearing major roadways and making it possible for aid to reach people, you know what they said to me? The first set of people to hit the ground were entertainers. Government not do nothing. So I said, then how did the entertainers got to the space if government didn't activate all the heavy equipments to clear roads?
Yes.
I said, when communities were marooned and helicopters were brought into the countries from overseas and food drops, hundreds of tons of food going over into South St. James and all over. Who did that? Was that entertainers? They said, no, are the Americans.
Yeah.
I don't know, because when you have that level of discussion coming from people like a Triple X and all of them folks,
well,
you said, well, who has a bully pulpit and loud enough and has an audience to echo that thing to? What do we do, neighbor? Do we just sit there and allow them? And that's what I cannot do. It is difficult for me.
Well, that means you have to bring back the chopping block. Finally with you, Chops. Democracy is an educational project. It is an educational project. Democracy only works if the citizens are constantly being educated into it. And when education fails, demagogues like Triple X thrive.
Yes, demagogues. Yes.
Yes, sir. They thrive, and there are many. Look at a boy like, and I don't even want to call his name, but there's a young man. I think he probably has a little mental problem, but I saw someone said the boy is going viral. The boy spouts nothing but
garbage,
and he's going viral. Huh?
Literal garbage.
Literal garbage. As a matter of fact, I feel a sense of pity for him.
But
Demagogues. Eh?
neighbor, I told this story before that we are living in a society that does not reward what's right. Let
Wow.
me tell you, if you have a dance competition tomorrow morning in Halfway Tree, and you have a dance that is choreographed a particular way, it says move your foot 10 feet to the 10 times forward, 10 times backward, 10 times to the left, 10 times to the right. That's the perfect choreographed dance move. And you invite some persons on stage to do that dance as is. And you have 9 persons who did that dance, the routine, perfect. But there's this one guy who went on the stage and did something totally outrageous and different.
Uh-huh.
That's the guy who is going to win.
My goodness.
That is the Jamaica. That is the world we're living in today. It is not rewarding people who does what is right.
Yeah.
It is a viral
Yeah.
world.
And so the most popular TikTokers and bloggers are demagogues, liars.
The most ridiculous persons. Look at the guy Stevens.
Oh, well.
Spew nothing but lies every single day.
Yeah. And they get the viral moments.
Yes, and they get
They are
money,
the ones that get the
rewarded,
shares
they get
and make money.
Yes, people pay them for that stuff.
Yeah.
People pay them for that stuff.
Demagogues, sir. And
Yes, sir.
the fact of the matter is that, but these demagogues, you know, Chops, cannot be left alone to continue to sow seeds of discord and lies in the country. You know, it cannot. They cannot be left.
If you do that, if you leave it alone, neighbor, every ounce of lie that is being distributed by them, if you leave it unchallenged, it becomes factual, whether we like it or not.
And so when the prime minister went to Westmoreland and spoke of war, Chops, I don't see the war yet. I must tell you the truth, and I need to see a ferocious, powerful response that brings the country. You know, Mandela, it said, you know, made South Africa's problem a national problem. Disinformation in Jamaica is a national problem, sir.
It is.
And I think we need to make it not a JLP problem, a national problem.
It is a problem, neighbor. And I see them moving with some level of alacrity there to get some legislation into Parliament to deal with it from a legislative point of view. But also, one of the most effective tools to fight misinformation is to flood the airwaves with the correct information.
Yeah.
Good will always conquer evil.
Yeah. Nice talking to you, man.
Thank you very much, man. Have a good evening.
Fantastic. Great.
Yeah. All right, Caroline. Good.
Uh-huh. All right. We are bouncing up to 10 o'clock. Nope, that come with that. All right, 28 to 10. And we sign off at about 10 o'clock. Getting back to Professor Harry in about 1 minute or so.
Our listeners, could you please tap the screen and share the live? Also, we're asking you to follow our backup page, Politics Plus 2. And as you do so, please continue to repost the live. Thanks.
Harry,
Neighbor.
let's go back to the top. I thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience and understanding. Harry, the thought, Harry, that the country is largely not civic literate nor critically literate is affecting political outcomes in Jamaica. Now, we do have a little time, Harry, another 4.5 years probably before the next election. How is it that we could begin to start the process to make sure that by the time we get to 2029, 2030, people are not going to the polls simply to mark an X without knowledge, but they are going there empowered with some understanding to make a decision either way? How do we begin to engage to make sure that this happens?
Well, neighbor, it's a tricky one, especially with how low our levels are, specifically to just normal literacy or mastery overall, because really and truly that is where it starts, right? But funny enough, neighbor, I think we've seen one way of doing so if we go back to the election, right? Because in 2025, Jamaica actually had 2 elections, right? Just a few days apart. And the second election I'm referring to was that election between Siki and the other gentleman.
Tiki?
Yeah, man. I think the chat can remind us what the names were. The 2 political parties. Both were invited to the Prime Minister's swearing. But why I say that is because one of the major things, it's a good example of what I would call simulating the democratic process. We saw Jamaicans organizing, nobody coming together in terms of the physical thing, but Jamaica organizing right across, even for a few people who were in the diaspora, right across the board, organize an entire party, well, 2 parties. They were able to select who would represent what parish and also who would become what minister, right? And that was done just via social media. In fact, the voting process was done exceptionally well. I mean, it was a landslide, but it shows how we could use that in itself to simulate an actual election, the whole democratic process. And that was one key one for mock elections. Now, if we can do that in the social media space, neighbor, it is not hard to do it in schools. It is not hard to do it in institutions. And it definitely, neighbor, not hard to do at the tertiary level. Because these were, and I'm not disrespecting anybody, but these were average social media persons who organized this. Right? I think if they want to have the full understanding as to how it was done, anybody listening, they could look out for Penelope. That's her name on social media. I would have known her because we went to school together. But these were just average persons who were able to do that.
Who is Penelope? Who is Penelope? She's a woman?
Yeah, she's a female.
She's a TikToker.
Right. So she's a social media personnel.
Yes.
Right. And she was able to do that and organize it in a very good way. Right. So can you imagine government with governmental resources, neighbor, and proper institutions? It should be a no-brainer to implement these things. And it's not something you have to do every week or whatever. You can easily slid it. For example, in schools, social studies is a major subject. Why aren't we doing that?
Yes. So you are saying that the mission for 2029, 2030 ought to begin within constraint, but at the same time deliberate to ensure that we are increasing and improving civic literacy and
Right.
critical literacy. And I think that
Drawing-
also will increase the voter turnout.
Of course it will, neighbor. It definitely will, because this is a way how you bring across awareness. It was fun, right? To see it, was very fun. So much that it got the Prime Minister's attention, because both
Is that so?
party leaders came up,
Uh-oh.
right? Not just to be at the swearing, but they also met with him one-on-one.
Uh-huh.
So it was that large.
They
to
met
get
with
his
the Prime Minister.
attention. Right.
Uh-oh.
So why we can't do these things at that level? And I bring that for a practical example. So people can't say, oh, you can't just teach it. Well, you get to see it.
Yes.
Right? You get to experience it yourself. Nobody has to tell you about it. The only thing you'll add to it is more structure and accurate information that you want people to understand from the Google.
I don't know. I'm asking a question. Is it that the political parties are satisfied with the voting bloc? It's a market. In other words, do you think that increasing knowledge, increasing information would be antithetical to the whole process of democracy in terms of political support for one party over the other?
Well, it really depends on the specific party and who they're looking to go after, right? Of course, we know, for example, right across the world, females are the highest voters, right? Regardless of the society. Well, let me put it to the western side of the world. And as such, whatever is put in place, so you're seeing governments target, and parties overall, target that specific sex more. Just like
Yes.
how women are more consumer than males, they pay more bills, they have more debt, and as such, as a marketing strategy,
Women have more debt than men.
they do, neighbor, right?
I didn't realize that. what they spend on? What are women spending on?
Well, funny enough, I don't know if the data changed in the last 3 years, but it's mostly surrounding the household at the time. But of course, we know the cosmetic world has blown up even bigger than before. So
Yes.
it might have a little shift there. But they're the ones who really and truly, they're the buyers, neighbor. They're the head of the household technically.
I see.
And as such, they are the ones who do a lot of the spending, right?
By the way,
And-
how much you pay the trim?
Me, neighbor, I haven't gone to barbershop in about 5 months, because I know to do it.
You have to trim yourself.
I just developed this skill, neighbor.
Sir, I don't know who is hearing me, but many years ago, when I was a very young man, I was talking to a lady, and she wanted to go to the hairdresser every 2 weeks. I couldn't understand. I mean, every 2 weeks she had to get a new hairstyle. I mean, I couldn't understand. And most of the time I would only get a call that I'm at the hairdresser. And when I go there, there's a new hairstyle. How can you go to the hairdresser every 2 weeks? Oh my God. Anyways, I tell you, I know some that
I see Bashan asking if I'm bald. No, Bashan, I can do a wicked fade, man. No worry. If it's neighbor,
Yes.
you see that program that the work and travel. If it's one thing it taught me was how to be a good barber, because I remember.
Okay, you went on it.
Yeah, I remember going to the barber shop. I have to shave every 2 weeks, right? And
Yes.
this was about 2018, and the barber looked at me and said $35. So we think is haircut and shave and everything. He said no,
It's
that's
just to
just
cut the
trim.
hair. Yes,
Yeah,
you have to pay extra for
He
trim.
He said another 20. I said, but me look on Amazon and one share set up at $30. So he
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Back.
I need to come for some lessons to you, because the last time I went to the barber, he told me $2,000 to cut my hair, and I said, but that's $24,000 a year. I go have it on the Rasta. Can't afford it. Can't afford it at all.
Neighbor, them tell me it's a 2.5 for mine, you know, because of the type of hair. So I say no.
Uh-huh. By the way, why the ladies them love KFC so? What about the KFC?
Why neighbor, you'd have to ask them, you know.
They're high maintenance, brother, but I tell you the truth. Hold on, do you hear, Harry? Listeners are coming back. Hold your thought there. Don't change it. No, sir. And you know they like the spicy. They like the spicy breasts. Oh boy. You know, as we speak, the KFC drive-through lines are long all across Jamaica. The women are there. I tell you, the guys have to buy them the 3-piece spicy breasts, spicy breasts. So they can't do nothing for a hungry belly. My belly have to be full. In Kimmy, your belly have to be full. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Harry. So you. I hope you remember what you were talking about. Go on.
Right. So that I give that practical example, neighbor, so people can understand fully for those.
Yes.
And what it takes into consideration is that it appeals to different persons. Those who have to experience it mean to be participative. Those who are oral, so you know they'll hear and so on. And then those who are visual, right? And as such, it's a good way to translate in many different ways, appealing to different senses and different levels of education and literacy, right? Now, this is something you can actually go with by engaging in communities, right? One of the major things is that I've seen, neighbor, community engagement, where you have that community center and so on. Growing up, that was an active thing for me. I'm hardly seeing it happening now. It's like everybody's individualistic. So we have to also drive that back now into the spectrum and ensure that we engage people the right way. And these community centers and activities actually can be done a lot more frequent, maybe once every quarter, once every 4 months, 5 months, whatever they'll do, because you have to keep on ensure that it repeats, because human beings learn by repetition. Right?
Yeah.
And that is key. Now, of course, we're in a data-driven world now, neighbor, highly. And as such, we have to be able to garner what level people really are, because I still don't think the numbers we have are reflective of our standard right now. And as such, using that data and understanding by analyzing, you know, what areas are more critical in terms of communities, parishes, or so on, and you target these places, neighbor. Whether that is also now implementing this, because I was speaking in terms of the social studies, you implement it in that way where a part of that teaching or curriculum for social studies,
yes,
actually has to do this. You need, if it's even one term of having that exam itself. Because if we can't bring back, let's say, civics overall as a subject, then we can implement it there. Because I'm sure there are things we can remove from it. Because I remember in my time when I did social studies, neighbor, we had to have a mini election thing where you pick your persons, and it was just like a half an hour thing. But that doesn't really happen again. And we had to learn it. We had like a pop quiz where we had to understand what was being taught and did that test, or else we couldn't go ahead and move on to the other tests that were coming. So we were forced to ensure that we understood it at that levels. And then that is how you ensure the future persons coming up, because these aren't going to be the persons who will vote the next election, but giving you an idea as to how different levels that you can take it to ensure you have almost a simultaneous reach for different demographics, persons from different walk of life, and you meet people where they are. All right. So that is one of the major things. Also, neighbor, we need trained individuals. I think we need to ensure, just like how we have, the skills for heart and so on. I think Electoral Office of Jamaica, because they have skilled persons, and this is just for the election part, they have skilled persons that can actually reach out. I don't know what they do overall on a day-to-day basis, but I know we can put something in place, because not every year we have elections, which means they can implement it and go on the road and teach these things. Where they want to partner with SDC or whichever institutions after that, and you ensure you do this. Now, from a government standpoint, neighbor, we have to definitely raise the literacy level and be aggressive and targeted. Right? It's a must.
No. I don't know if you had done the checks for me in terms of what is the literacy rate in Jamaica as compared to Barbados.
Oh, Barbados was 99.7, and Jamaica was 67.1.
What? No.
In which the minister has also said we're trying to bring it up to 80, and close to 90 by the fiscal year 2025-2026.
No, Harry. John Stuart Mills argued that good policy often produces slow, indirect, and invisible benefits, while bad policies can produce fast, visible gratification. And so in Jamaica, Scratchy, how do you interpret that? And Scratchy, I want you to take that too, so that you don't suffer politically.
Well, with the neighbor, I mean, we've seen it. I think with good policies, it takes some time to actually get the results that people really want. And in a time like now where people want things now, I think they call it the microwave period or microwave era, where everything is instant, quick gratification. Like it has to be done like right now, right? If not right now, then the attention span is so small, like as small as a goldfish. That's one of the things I saw a professor spoke about, that our attention span has gotten that bad, because goldfish can't focus on nothing, neighbor, right? And as such, we have now moved away from being even productive in getting information and understanding things, that we set unrealistic expectation for ourselves, all the while it being a detriment to us. So if we don't get it now, neighbor, in the short term, then people move on from it and look for the next best thing that can give that dopamine effect, right? And as such, that overall, it is now us making short-term decisions with long-term effects. And we've seen that over and over. So this generation and so on, we're not looking too far down the road, because we're not looking too far to take a lot of to make a lot of sacrifices, because we don't know if we're going to live to see it and so on. We like they call it the YOLO, you only live once. So everybody wants to do everything now. And if you can't deliver it now, then you're pushed to the back bench. But when the policy does kick in, because they have failed to understand that there's a process to it, and you have to also trust the process, when the results come, they don't even know that is the reason. All that work on the process and everything being executed over time is what gave them that result. And now, as an institution, as a government and so on, you have to then go back to try and translate and communicate that to them, when they should have actually seen it from day one. So they would now look on the opportunity cost, neighbor, and say time, because that's what they're using, the time effect. If they can't get it now, then the alternative must be the next best thing, when that may not be true. If you have, I want to say, call it the two necessary evils, right? then when you make the choice for the other one, you're now getting that dopamine, satisfying that dopamine effect, and now getting that gratification, but not realizing that you've just signed away chosen word prosperity and continuity of that prosperity, right? Just because you wanted that gratification in the moment. And that's one of the major things, especially what we saw going at the polls. For example, you get a 50 grand figure vote. You vote in a party who creates a government with poor policies. That 50 grand now go save you for the next 5 years. So you've now handed over your entire right. You've exercised the right in the wrong way, because you can get a 50 grand, you can go buy a shoes, maybe buy a clocks or whatever. You can go on party, go splash the money. But then when that is done in a day, and those poor policies, you get more taxes, which means you go home with less money. You are now paying additional fees elsewhere. That 50 grand never worth it. And that's what we're seeing overall. And I agree with Chops that says Jamaica is one that should be studied when it comes on to these things, because it's spot on. We've been practicing that for quite a while.
Fantastic. Hold on there, Harry. Scratchy, you are the party man here. How do you interpret the strength of the party in Parliament at this time, Scratchy, with 35-28, and a lot of times the government ministers are out on assignment. The opposition numbers are more than the government numbers in Parliament. How do you interpret that? Do you think that the government parliamentary position is weakened at this time, Scratch?
No, definitely not, Neighbour. I mean, when you think, if you notice, Neighbour, you have the Speaker of the House, Neighbour, which serve as some form of independent person, Neighbour. And you have the Prime Minister, who, despite being the Prime Minister, yes, in the Parliament, he don't have any certain control of how the runnings go in the Parliament, certainly as a Speaker. But you also have what they call, Neighbour, leader of government business, Neighbour. And that person, Neighbour, who's the leader of government business, Neighbour, that is the person who dialogues with the Cabinet, Neighbour, and the laws and whatever voting process need to be taking place within the Parliament. So whenever there is time for any important vote off on any important bill or any important thing, Neighbour, I can guarantee you, Neighbour, that the government members will be present.
Yeah, and they have the whip, the government whip that will make sure that everybody's
definitely
there.
The leader of government business, that's his responsibility to make sure that whenever important bills are to be passed, each and every one of the members of the party will have to be there. So it's very strategic, Neighbour. We understand how Parliament works. It's very strategic. And the leader of the government business, Neighbour, he dialogues with the Parliament clerk, the House Speaker, and he directly knows the bills and how important these bills are. And he relate back that to the Cabinet of Jamaica, Neighbour, which is led by the Prime Minister. So the government, we understand how government works, Neighbour. The government is in a full standing and know about how to operate and how to function.
Yeah, well, okay, but then, Scratchy, would you not agree that at this day in our history, this time, the governing Jamaica Labour Party should not feel that a fourth term is a foregone conclusion?
No, definitely, Neighbour. Anyone, Neighbour, any well-thinking persons, Neighbour, any persons who understand the political landscape, Neighbour, we know that a fourth term is not anything that is put in the bag or guaranteed, Neighbour. When you look at how we attain this third term, Neighbour, government that has done more than any other government in the history of Jamaica. This election, Neighbour, the past election showed me that Jamaicans are not voting for performance, Neighbour. Jamaicans are not voting for good governance. Jamaicans are not voting for policy. So I cannot look at what the government is doing on the ground. Government is creating jobs. The government is refurbishing and re-establishing our manufacture sector and certain things and creating a lot of projects, high-end projects, road projects and stuff like that. I still, Neighbour, it is so sad. But I must also have to tell you that in the reality, Neighbour, I cannot just look at that, looking out and looking in and say that, yes, fourth term is sure. Because I see the government doing all of these things. I know, Neighbour, that there's a lot of factors, Neighbour, that can deter election in Jamaica. And we often speak, Neighbour, about what should be done and what can be done, Neighbour. But we must remember that we must put things in the context. And in the reality, Neighbour, Jamaica, Neighbour, our election is totally different from every single where else in the world. Jamaica is the only place in the world, Neighbour, where you have election, Neighbour, and the election is such a buzz. The election is of so much, it's not really of national importance. It is more of a hooray party. I hear persons calling it sports day. Neighbour, I live here in Canada, and there's countless time in election day come and I don't even know it's election day. I don't even,
What?
I don't see nobody that drive past on the bus in a Marconi shirt and a Peary shirt. So sometimes nobody has election here in Canada, I don't even know it's election. You know, so I just tell you, neighbor, that Jamaica is a very complex neighbor place, and I think, neighbor, that the reason why there's this big worry around Jamaica's election, neighbor, when you come to look at it, persons are not interested in the policy, they're not interested in the road. I think it's just because of the 1 day perks that persons can earn from that 1 day, neighbor. Man might see like, say, yes, this is a day where I have certain value, where I can put a price on him vote until our candidates are 50,000 me want, or else me not go vote. And it is possible, neighbor, that him wish might be granted. So that is why we see so much people around this Jamaica election, neighbor, because Jamaica election is totally different, neighbor. And I can tell you, neighbor, go anywhere else in the world, it's no comparison to Jamaica election. Just remember I tell you that.
There is a criticism though, Scratchy, that the government is communicating technocratically. They are putting out their numbers, they are putting out their reports, they are putting out their achievement, that they are communicating defensively. They are responding to criticisms rather than shaping the narrative, and that they are talking at the citizens, not talking with them. And in an environment of civic illiteracy, this is ineffective, even counterproductive. Do you not agree that if the government is to ensure that it remains relevant in the citizens' eyes as it presses towards further electoral success, that the party need to separate its communication from the government? And when government puts information out, Scratchy, the party must take that information and tailor it to the different demographics so that it can keep the people involved and engaged as it presses forward.
Definitely, I would definitely agree with that, neighbor. That yes, the party, neighbor, the government is communicating in a technocratic way, neighbor. But we must also understand, neighbor, that whatever economic growth that we see going on in Jamaica, neighbor, it is not as a result of the government alone, neighbor. It is also a result of public-private partnership. We must also understand, neighbor, that when government goes out to speak, neighbor, government also speak to this demographic group, to neighbor, the ones who are creating the jobs, neighbor, the ones who are investing their money, neighbor, the ones who understand how business operate and how economy operate. The government
yes, so the government's communication minister or information minister must address the markets, Scratchy. You have to, you know, I heard Donald Trump saying that Donald Trump could send out a tweet tomorrow, Scratchy, and the entire international market is in uproar. When the Minister of Information speaks, Scratchy, markets listen. She's communicating the policy of the government of Jamaica. But to be very frank, you know, Scratchy, that is not communicating with the people, to be frank. You know. She may be, it's a technocratic communication that is relevant in her space and with her image and for the image of the government. But you know, those people in Black Rivers and those people in Westmoreland, Scratchy, and Coronation Market, if you heard me say earlier, that the markets are for the technocrats, but the supporters go to Coronation Market. The only market they know is the Coronation Market, Scratchy. You have to communicate with Coronation Market.
I'm definitely, neighbor, and I sometimes, neighbor, yes, I tell you, neighbor, this communication thing, neighbor, it is so technical, neighbor. So it's a good news and success of governments, neighbor. It is so hard for government to communicate these things for a living, neighbor, because when you look at the party and you look at the government, neighbor, the same persons who hold party position, who hold the political positions as well, neighbor, government position as well. So I think, neighbor, that government, neighbor, must also be on a level, neighbor, where whoever you choose as your communication person, neighbor, as your information minister, neighbor, I think that person must be of the reality, must understand the reality, neighbor, that that there's two demographic groups out there that you have to speak to. And you must speak in a language, neighbor, where you can, where both demographic groups can understand what is going on. Because it's the same thing, neighbor, that is said, neighbor, in the language that is being used, neighbor. The only way now that you're telling me for you to communicate better is by breaking down the language. Maybe I might be saying that the language is too strong, and persons might don't understand some of these genres or these words that are being used. So what we'd have to do now is break down the language. And I don't think nearby that it is just up to just a political organization alone to break down this language nearby, because I can tell you, communication is not cheap. It is not cheap, and I don't think the political organization have the financial means nearby to fully carry out this. As I said the other night nearby, I was reviving this, and I'm going to say it again, that whatever information need to be out there nearby is the government, because what we have to understand nearby is political parties form government. So this government represents a political party. And if they realize that there's problem out there with persons understanding what is going on, and persons knowing what is going on, I don't think it should be solely up to the political party nearby. It's government. Government have the resources, government have the funding nearby, government have the reach, and government must make sure nearby that whatever is going on is reached from whatever level, whatever way. The other day I saw the Jamaica Labour Party release the manifesto. They put it in a way nearby where the blind man can read it, the deaf man can hear it, the dumb man can hear it. So we have to just understand nearby that government must also take those type of steps to whatever information they are putting out there. Make sure that the dumb and the blind and the deaf can also relate it, same interest and energy that is put into a manifesto to make sure that the dumb and the blind and the deaf can understand it. Put the same interest in the information that is being put out there, neighbor. The government have this big organization, neighbor. You have a Ministry of Information. And the Ministry of Information, neighbor, is that ministry need a total revamp. I often said it, neighbor, that it is full-time, neighbor, who stop treat Ministry of Information like it's a stepchild. No, up to now, neighbor, in the history of Jamaica, the Ministry of Information has a building for itself, neighbor, a fully staffed office for itself, neighbor, with all the equipment and machine that it needs. You cannot want to run a government, neighbor, and have so much ministries and agencies and departments, and you just have the Ministry of Information as a stepchild, each up in a one little office, in a one little broader ministry. It cannot work, neighbor. Misinformation is very important. Information is very important. You must make sure that the Ministry of Education is a ministry of itself with a building and a fully staff, fully operational, fully equipment and everything. That is the only way we can combat misinformation and spread information the right way. You have different style of people working in that ministry, neighbor. Persons who you say do reach to the technocrats, and persons from the same ministry who can reach to the lower level person. Neighbor, the full time we start treat Ministry of Information like it's a stepchild. It is not. It is showing us day and day how important and how vital information is. So why something as information, as vital as information, is being treated in our back office in our next more major ministry? No, neighbor, the time has come for the Ministry of Information stand on its own 2 feet, neighbor, with its own agencies, neighbor, and its own operational costs, and its own equipment, fully equipped. More technological equipment can reach across social media and all aspects of social media in the media terms in the fastest way ever. And make sure that you also get persons who can carry out messages, neighbor. Everybody don't have to go to PPCJ now. Everybody don't have to be a journalist, and the world change, and the government must understand that the world change. You have persons who are now called content creators. They might not go to any university and have a journalism degree, neighbor, but their ability, neighbor, to spark, to garner attention, and their ability to carry out information is well on par. And these persons' service can be used, neighbor. We need to get these persons' service and put them out there. Neighbor, the Ministry of Information need to be, it cannot be treated as a stepchild anymore. That thing need a whole ministry, a whole building. Like we have Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Information need a whole building for itself, fully equipped and staff.
Yeah, that is so fantastic. And you know, Scratchy, the opposition will exploit this, because you know how the politics is played. Opposition parties exploit ignorance and illiteracy, you know, they do.
Exactly, neighbor. So that's why I'm saying, neighbor, that it is political parties that form government, neighbor. And if anyone who have the big bucks, neighbor, who can spend or anyway the resources that are to fight misinformation and disinformation and put message out there, it is from the government. Political organization cannot fund this, they cannot find it. And the Jamaica Labour Party, neighbor, which is the government right now, must understand that we are having serious issue with the information that is being coming out of the government. And the government has the funding, and the government has the budget, and the government must, in this upcoming budget, neighbor, try somewhere, somehow, to make sure that the information going out there is going out in a way, neighbor, with a connect, both from the local level and both from the upper echelon level. It cannot just be a one-way street where just go out there and talk one specific way and expect everybody in the country to understand it, because I'm telling you, they don't.
Thank you. By the way, Scratchy, I understand that today is Kimmy's birthday.
Yes, happy birthday to Kimmy, you know. Happy birthday. Many more to come. But my birthday is coming soon. You know, neighbor, my birthday is coming up.
February?
No, Ari, no, I'm not a singer, you know, Ari. I'm more of a dancer, you know.
Your
DJ,
birthday is
man.
coming up in February, Scratchy?
No, neighbor, not February. March is my birthday. My birthday is in March.
Oh my goodness. March. Okay, well that's
The
fantastic.
same month, neighbor, that is our anniversary. The same month that is Politics Plus anniversary is my birthday.
Oh, it's gonna be a twin celebration.
Remember, say I have a pass through my own to reach here with them.
February, yeah, I heard that February, guys. That's one of the February crisis then.
Well, from the Politics Plus team to Kimmy. Happy birthday to you, Kimmy. How you doing? Oh, listeners,
Hi,
I
Mr.
understand
Neighbour.
that one of the Jamaica Labour Party. By the way, Kimmy, are you a Labour Party blogger?
You will not trick me. You're not gonna do this to me. No. I'm a member of the Jamaica Labour Party.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes. You know, I'm going to tell my listeners I'm going through a little thing here, but I can send you $1,000, $1,000 You can buy two sorry beer.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Send me your number off here.
Okay,
And
Mr. Neighbour.
I had forgotten that today is your birthday. It's today. Today is your birthday.
Today is my birthday, sir. Today is my birthday. Yes.
Okay. So what time is he coming to pick you up?
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Neighbour, there's a thing called a snowstorm that happened, So there's no picking up.
You're in New York?
No, sir. No.
Give me a foreign husband.
Oh, he didn't get a chance to come down.
That's correct.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow. I didn't know that at all. So wow, Kimmy. Wow. And here I was thinking that you were single. I was dusting off myself, I was dusting off myself, looking on your page and seeing if anything could. Wow, my heart. Oh my goodness.
Listen. I can tell you this. I heard you said something about why ladies love KFC. Mr.
Yes.
Neighbour, I'm gonna tell you something. For this lady, it's not the food that Mr. Sir would have used to win my heart. It was
Yes.
the love that he showed towards my son.
Oh, okay.
So for me, it's not about vanity, sir. It's all about how the person treats you as an individual and how they treat your family by extension. So yeah.
So your heart has been won?
Yes, Mr. Neighbour. I'm
My
fully
goodness.
tooked. Fully tooked, Mr. Neighbour. Fully tooked.
This is all amazing.
Mr. Neighbour.
This is all amazing.
Yeah, all right.
Caroline, you want me to go? All right, hold on.
Celebrating, Kimmy.
Mr. Neighbour, what a spot Caroline putting me in a father. Chad,
What you said?
Guys, I was fixing back the hairstyle so you can stay at home.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
I was fixing back the home.
Go pretty girl, Chachi. Go pretty girl.
Hi, everyone. Mr. Neighbour, this is probably the first time you're seeing me, correct?
No, it looks like your picture. It doesn't look any different. You're a nice girl. Oh, wow.
Thank you, sir.
Nice
Yes.
smile, little Harry.
Happy birthday again, Timmy. Happy birthday. Big up yourself.
Well, I want to say, like, Mr. Neighbour, literally, I had a great birthday. My son bought me three colognes. I got a whole bunch of rum cream because I love rum cream. And I got my supporters came over to my live and they supported me, and I'm so grateful for that. You know,
Yeah.
so yes, it was a great birthday, and I'm so happy that we live and that we have the Jamaica Labour Party in government for this birthday. Because if PNP didn't celebrate,
Well,
so, yeah.
fantastic. Great.
So, and Mr. Neighbor, back to the hairstyle. Let me address something, Mr. Neighbor. Listen, we
Yes.
ladies, it's only the ladies them who don't want to build with the person or have a good future. I go want them ear comb every 2 weeks. Comb style that is going to last like a month or two. Put in some braid and drop on a wig or something. You don't need to pressure the man to do your hair. As a matter of fact, do your own hair. Him is not your father.
Wow. Well, you're one of the good girl, man.
Yes. It was really good being over here, guys. It was really lovely. Mr. Neighbor, thank you so much for always having me over here.
Yes.
And for being a part of your platform. Do I so much things are going on the media, Mr. Neighbor, my dear?
It's happening, eh? Wow.
But Mr. Neighbor, let me ask a question. Do you remember George Wright, when Mr. Wright and his wife had that altercation in the open lot down in Westmoreland?
It was him? It was him?
Well,
him?
nothing. We don't know it was him, you know.
Well,
I'm not sure if it was him.
Him. Go look on the camera and look at him.
No,
no, all right. Let me not do that. Do you remember, Mr. Neighbor, when Floyd Green broke COVID protocols and was out on the street when he shouldn't be, and they called for his head? And,
yeah, his
and
resignation.
Mr. Onus bench him for a couple little time, right? You remember that? So
yes.
Mr. Neighbor, where is all of these people who call for Floyd Green head? Where are they now to call for Mr. Vaz head?
Well, you know what is called inconsistency, ma'am. That's a lack of integrity, and it is showing up. It is showing up right now that the calls were partisan.
Yes.
Because the fact of the matter is that if you're going to be a person of integrity, you have to be consistent.
I agree. So Mr. Neighbor, what hurt me, right, is two things before I go. One, the press conference that was kept yesterday, a total embarrassment. Classless. No class. Nothing about it. Nothing out of that press conference made any sense. Nothing. I learned nothing from it. Right? Yeah. What I did learn though is that Mr. Golden had a smirk on his face when he was talking about Cliff Hughes. And it goes to show you the heart that this man has. Now you hear that somebody, and the nationwide young guy asked a question, and instead of answering the question, you chose to be condescending and distasteful, classless and disgraceful. You're not fit to be a leader. I don't like that man.
Oh my.
You are smirking in somebody's health condition, Mr. Neighbor. You're smirking. You hear that this person got a health crisis and you smirk. You were smiling as if it was a big deal. Like, oh, come on now.
I didn't see it.
You, Mr. Neighbor, look good. When he was saying it.
No, I will look at it.
When he was saying it, Mr. Neighbor, look at his jaw. You could see the smirk. And it upset me so bad. Thank you. It upset me so bad that I was saying to myself, so this is who really wanted to run the country? Because of what? He's classless. I heard somebody on the live call him classless the other day over here, Mr. Neighbor, and I agree with the person who called him classless. He is classless. And you had 3 men who stood in front of a press conference yesterday and did nothing right because Miss Burchell did not represent for the females. She did not.
Oh, she was a man? She's a man?
She did not represent. She should have said to them, listen, this is a big deal. Women are triggered by this harassment charge allegation. Let us talk about it. Mr. Neighbor, how much ladies are being harassed and afraid to talk? She had an opportunity as the information minister, Mr. Neighbor, to put her foot down and stood up and say, you know, guys, we need to talk about this. Ladies are hurting. Enough ladies are go quiet. I quiet them. I try quiet Miss Chang, but Miss Chang stand with you. She should have put and said, the ladies. How many ladies are being harassed, Mr. Neighbor? How many?
That quite a number, ma'am. I don't know
Right.
about that.
So she had
And
the
I'm-
opportunity to show.
and I've been taken advantage of.
Yes, Miss
You know,
Sarah,
ma'am,
she had the opportunity to
Yeah.
put her foot down as a woman. So
Yeah.
that a 3-man come on the press conference yesterday. She is also very classless.
Oh. Well, yes. She should have done a little better than that. I
She
agree
should
with that.
have. Mr. Neighbour, that press conference was total stupidness. A waste of time and taxpaying dollar.
Well, taxpayers didn't pay for it.
All of them not pay for it are still we. A waste of time. Mr. Neighbour, I want back my time. Thank you.
Oh, okay, so you are home now?
Yes, Mr. Neighbour, unfortunately.
20 minutes after 10 o'clock. Okay. So you're gonna video call him now?
Well, Mr. Neighbour, I'm going to my bed. But
Okay.
you know,
I
today
understand
was
that. I understand that it can be done over the phone. Is that
Get the
true?
rose and call him, man. Get the rose and call him, man. Get the rose and call him.
It cannot be done over the phone now?
Today was my birthday. I enjoyed myself. I got some rum cream. I got a really good news that I will share with you guys. Timmy Pepper business is coming back on board because Pepper gone down a market now, so now look out for that.
Yeah.
And guys, enjoy the rest of the night. Be good, be safe. All right?
You're going to video call now.
Pardon?
You're going to video call him now.
Bye, Mr. Neighbour. Have yourself
Get the
a
rose,
wonderful
Kimmy. Get the rose, Kimmy. Get the rose.
Have yourself a wonderful night. Caroline, I love you, girlie.
Get the rose, Kimmy. Get the rose.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, but the rose take over from the other day, you know.
I tell you, I have no comment. No comment on that. I tell you.
Every female of a rose right now, neighbor.
I tell you. Anyway, 21 after 10 o'clock. Let's put a wrap on this for this Friday and tell our listeners how much we appreciate them. It's been a tough week, Scratchy, and but here we are. It's been a tough week, but we survived. We survived, Scratchy. We survived, eh?
Neighbor, you know, definitely a tough week, neighbor. This last couple of weeks, neighbor, you know, I mean, neighbor, you know, I definitely sympathize with the neighbor, you know, to build a page, neighbor.
Yeah.
30,000-40,000 is no easy thing, neighbor.
Yes,
to be building a
40,000.
page over,
And
over
a lot of people don't know what I've lost, you know. A lot of what I use to do the program is on the page. And you see all the laughs and all of them thumbnail. I've lost all of that, you know, sir. I've lost all of that. It's I don't like talking about it. It will probably crack me up, but it's been a tough week. It's been a tough week.
Yeah, man, neighbor,
You know something, Scratchy. When you a man lost his mother one time, you see, and his friend was comforting him, saying, I know how you feel. And the man said to him, you don't know how me feel, your mama dead? The thing there, Scratch, is that you can't know how a man feel unless you've walked in his shoe, not true?
Definitely, neighbor. Definitely. You cannot 100% know what a man is feeling unless you walk in his shoe, neighbor. Definitely.
Have to be his shoe.
But that is it, neighbor. You don't know, we move on and we still manage to come like and still manage to not to engage over 200 person each night going to 300, 400. So, and a page that is not, you know, that is not familiar to a lot of the viewers. So Let's continue to push, yeah, but let's continue to fight. Let's try our best to come back stronger, you know. We won't be defeated, you know. They might down, but we're not out, you know. Let's come back
Yeah.
stronger, neighbor, man. We're not worried about that. We're not gonna cry about spillment. Move on from
Yeah.
that, you know. I was
I
strong
think-
and
I
come
think-
back then.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't wanna expose my tears publicly, but I must tell you that you know, I've been hurt by it. Really have.
Yes, neighbor, nothing is wrong, you know. You know, tears, I would say tears, you know. This is what a lot of them. Don't be afraid to show the tears, neighbor, you know.
Yeah.
Your page, you took your time to build that page. You've been in that page how much in years now. And you've managed to put that page on a level where a lot of persons still don't manage to do that who have been here on this platform longer before you. So I know how you feel, neighbor. I can definitely I don't exactly know, but I know it feels to learn something that you love, you know.
Oh yes. Oh, you
I know it
Okay,
feels to love
wow.
something and just lose it and I can't get it back.
If I should share a personal story with you, Scratchy, you know, I once loved a girl so much that oh boy, maybe I should talk it, eh? Yes.
Maybe they should have talked it. It's Friday night, neighbor. Give the viewers a little story time. It's Friday night.
Have you ever had your heart crushed by a woman? So have you ever?
Yes, neighbor. I have definitely had my heart crushed, neighbor. But what I am happy for, neighbor, that crush happened when I was very young. It's best when you get over these things from very young age, neighbor.
Uh-huh.
You know? Don't
Wow.
wait till you're up in age to get your heart crushed because I'm telling you, it's not gonna be easy, you know. Make
No,
sure you
no,
get that
no.
heart crush from your young. But me getting my heart crushed, neighbor, it never stopped me from love, neighbor. I still love, and I would always love, always, you know.
Uh-huh. Well, yeah. Well, you know, I tell you, I think that I've maybe twice, maybe once, maybe twice, yeah. Maybe twice in my life I've experienced heartbreak, real heartbreak. And I can tell you, it's not an easy feeling.
You couldn't eat, neighbor, you couldn't eat.
Listen to me. I was broken so much that I lost maybe 50 pounds in 2 weeks.
You listen to me, neighbor.
Yes, 50 pounds in 2 weeks. Because innocence, and when you are kind of inexperienced. I'm gonna tell you something which I have learned, that don't play with women, you know, sir. Don't play with
Neighbor, don't play with women, neighbor. I can't tell any man that, neighbor. Say don't play with women. Tell you this, neighbor.
Don't play with women, you know, brother.
Neighbor, don't play with women, man. When woman ready to turn them back, you see, and move on, you see.
Uh-huh.
Don't think them play, man.
Yeah. The thing, Scratchy, is that a woman will be living with you, pretending to be into you, and have left you. And so what is the shock, you know, is that when she eventually leaves, and you're wondering, how could she do that? Yeah.
Neighbor, I got my heart broken, neighbor, and I just broke back a couple of them out in the neighbor. And when I got my heart broken from that, neighbor, I just start broke back them out, neighbor.
Oh my God, well, that's not good, you know. That's not good at all.
I just start break back them out, neighbor. I just break them out. I'm going to stop now, neighbor. I've grown now. I'm no longer breaking any hearts right now.
That is very good. I commend you for that. Well, you know, I love deeply, you know, and I love exclusively. If I am going to love you, I love you, and I love you alone. But I think I was very much shocked when it happened to me, because I was saying, how could a girl walk away from a nice man like joke you make.
That's the problem, neighbor. Most of them don't like nice man. That's
They
what I
like
tell you. Neighbor, there's a
And
lot of
sometimes you wonder
females out
about-
there, neighbor, where they don't like nice man. They don't like good guys.
Yes. Yes, sir. I tell you. Anyway, I'm sure my listeners are intrigued. They like this type of discussion, but
Neighbor, this generation right there is not a long generation neither. Now take up yourself, go love one of them generation you see, neighbor. Take up yourself, go love one of them Gen Z you see.
yeah.
Can't sleep at night.
Yes. I have found that it's a terrible thing, sir. Hey Caroline, how you doing? Good night to you, and I like to see you cry. Oh my goodness.
I can tell Caroline has never gotten her heart broken before.
No, I don't think so. She hasn't, no.
I think Caroline is the one who break the hearts.
No, please don't come
think
here.
a beautiful lady like Caroline can get her heart broken. Caroline too pretty to get her heart broken and nice.
Oh my God.
You hear the giggle a while ago?
I hear Caroline giggle, yes.
You laugh out of them, Caroline. You're laughing after them, eh?
No, neighbor,
let's-
I'm not laughing at them at all.
Yeah, but they're talking about broken heart. You don't know anything about that, okay? You have my permission to remain silent. Don't answer that question then. just smile, just smile.
You know, neighbor.
It's the Selburn Cox saying that they're to leave you alone, eh?
Well, you know, neighbor, that's not true. You know, it's almost. Oh yeah, my mom. I lost my mom 5 years ago.
That was broken for you. No, but I'm sure they're not.
I see you, Caroline. I see you. I see you, Caroline. Caroline, they go fool in the name.
Yes. What are you talking about here?
Different type of broken out we're talking about here, Caroline. Here, you want to make a cat.
What about you, Harry? Have you had a broken heart?
Why, neighbor?
You say yes?
Yeah. I think it was my second, fully committed relationship at the time. Still youthful.
Yes.
But, and after it ended, it was like about 3 years and all.
You're gone, Harry. You're gone.
You hear me, neighbor?
I'm hearing you now, yes?
Yeah, so it's like about 3 years and little. So, you kind of settle down and everything, and you say, yeah, this is the person. And nobody knew why it ended, neighbor, but I can tell you that the next semester at school, I've never done so well in school in my life.
Really? It drove you to work hard?
Yeah, but I just needed some distraction, before I get back. So I did exceptionally well at that time. I mean, I normally do well, but that time was very strategic because I needed something to clear the mind and be occupied.
Yeah. My problem is that I was so well behaved as a young man. I actually didn't have a girlfriend in high school. I went to college. I never saw that as important. I actually grew up in the church, and therefore having entered into that space, I tell you the truth, wow. I can tell you that it's something that you can become suicidal on if you make it take your life, man. But that can't happen to me again,
Man, no man is bigger than bun, but no man is bigger than bun,
No, that can't happen to me again.
Neighbor, the only thing I would want back is my SBAs and IAs, because I gave all of them to her.
You gave them to her? Yes? You were her child to help.
Yeah, man. I was told, I'm not helping, so I don't know what happened.
I wonder if my son Joshua is listening. Are you listening, Joshua?
Neighbor,
Yes.
can I ask you a question?
Uh-huh.
What is it like as a man to be heartbroken?
Well, I think men love much deeper than women do, because he owns what he loves. It becomes part of him. And therefore, when he loses that, he loses himself. And that's really how you feel. You feel like you have failed. You're defeated. And that's a terrible
version. That's a version of him that he'll never get back, neighbor.
Right. So he feels that he's lost. If a man enters into his home and finds another man on his woman, he'll unalive them both, because he's been violated. So you feel violated, and you really feel ashamed, defeated, almost as if you're failed. So your ego, your pride is all messed up. You will lose your mind. The difference here, Caroline, with women is that women are more calculative. They're going to take their time to detach themselves from the man, and then they're going to walk away when they have already healed. So they have left the man when they have already healed. That leaving process for them has started long ago. So by the time they leave, they have almost healed already, and you don't know.
Woman leave you from in them mind in the neighbor before them literally leave you,
Yes,
you've done the relationship long time in them brain,
You'll be getting the body, so but you're not getting the mind, the emotion. She's attached.
Yeah, females detach long before they walk away.
Yes, and that is why I find them so dangerous. Well, dangerous. Because a woman will be with you last night and is planning to be married tomorrow night. That to me is fascinating. Seriously. Anyway.
But neighbor, don't you think that's a good thing? It's called self-preservation,
Well, preserve as much as you want, but I don't think men can operate like that. Well, they can't. Anyway, great show tonight, guys. Great night to everybody. We're gonna wrap it here. We'll pick up back this study tomorrow Saturday, and into next week as we try to unravel the mystery of the third term and present to our listeners our findings. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning into the Politics Plus podcast for tonight, and we'll